So Greenland was colonized by Denmark in 1721 and was a colony for more than 200 years. And after that increasingly gained autonomy from Denmark and today is, as you said, self-governing autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. So the Kingdom of Denmark is Denmark, Greenland and the Faroe Islands.
And so what's been the extent of US interest in Greenland and presence in Greenland since World War II?
Yeah, so I think it's important to kind of draw the slightly longer historical lines of what's going on right now. So Donald Trump is far from the first US president to offer to buy Greenland. This has been offered, I think, 5-6 times over the past 100 plus years. And kind of the substance of this interest has varied across time. It has been about resources at some points in time, but I think that the most consistent interest in Greenland from the US has been during the Cold War and up until today, has been because of Greenland's geostrategic position in between kind of continental US and Soviet Union, what is today Russia. So from the US perspective, in the best case scenario, Greenland is sort of a watchtower towards the rest of the Arctic.
And they've already got a significant military presence there to do exactly that. Now, you're Danish yourself, and so I'm interested to ask you how you feel about it, but also what's your knowledge of how the people of Greenland feel about this talk of Donald Trump saying he's going to take it over somehow, and also that, and it's just we've found out today, j-d-vance, the Vice President, is going to be joining his wife on this visit in a couple of days to Greenland, and apparently uninvited.
So the official response from Greenland, from the acting premier of Greenland, has been very strong with this visit we're seeing now. He's calling it highly aggressive. If we're talking about the population of Greenland more broadly, it's my sense that they feel extremely disrespected, but also concerned and worried about what all of this means and what it will end with. But I think, the clearest indication of where the people of Greenland are with all of this is the election that was held just 2 weeks ago. And I think that election indicates both how Greenlanders feel about Denmark and feel about the US. So 5 political parties were elected to parliament, and they feel, all of these parties in various ways, want independence from Denmark at some point in various ways. And all of these 5 parties, even the most US friendly of them, none of these 5 parties want to become the 51st state of the US.
Well, Canada might become the 51st.
Oh yeah, 52nd.
And so how do you feel about this, the fact that j-d-vance is going now? Do you think that's highly aggressive and disrespectful?
So this visit seems to be changing both in who's going and what's on the agenda. And now they're only going to the Pitufik space base, which is the US military base. And I think in some sense that's easier for both Denmark and Greenland to handle. But I think this visit in total can also be seen as this wish from Donald Trump to show control with Greenland, because they have not been invited and they're going anyway. So in that sense, it's a very effective way to, show some kind of control in Greenland.
Did you notice in his inauguration speech that Donald Trump said he wanted the US to expand its territory? Did you notice, did that pique your interest, and did that alarm you when you heard that?
Yeah, I have to say it's a bit wild to have a threat from one of your allies, direct or indirect threats, I think 3 or 4 times now in the span of 3 months. But I also have to say it doesn't make a lot of sense, this kind of threat of military invasion, because as you said, the US is already in Greenland, militarily, diplomatically, so it's not really clear what an invasion would be. And also there's a defense agreement between the US, Denmark and Greenland, which says, specifically that Denmark and the US together defend Greenland. So, it's not really clear what is taking control or a threat of potential military control means.
Do you think there could be a pretty frosty reception for j-d-vance on his arrival in a couple of days?
Yeah, I think in fact the agenda might have changed. There was this kind of cultural visit to Sisimiut where there's a dog-sled race. We've been hearing that Greenlanders in Sisimiut and other towns have been planning demonstrations against this visit. And I think, the thinking with the Trump administration might have been that the optics of this high-level delegation doing this kind of cultural visit and then having a lot of demonstrators, those optics are not very good for Trump's message. So I think that might be why they have changed the visit to only go to the military base.
And as an ally, is Denmark and the Danish people and the people of Greenland deeply hurt by the fact, or how are they affected by the fact that all this is happening?
I think there's a lot of confusion in both in Greenland and in Denmark about what Donald Trump and his administration actually wants with Greenland. Like, what is the purpose of all this? And then I think there's considerations about whether this should be escalated to EU, other EU member states, the EU level, but also NATO allies potentially. So I think that is the consideration at the moment, how to kind of contain this without, escalating it, but still having a strong response.
It's going to be so interesting to see how this plays out, especially with this visit over the next couple of days. Lynn Mortensgaard, thanks so much for coming in and having a chat to us.
Thank you for having me.